Well, good afternoon folks, and welcome to the first of this week's review videos. We're back in Egypt and we're looking at SHARM El Sheikh International Airport, Hotel Echo Sierra Hotel. This is a payware scenery by the Flight Sim Development Group, better known as FSDG. This is version 1 and it's for the PC version of Flight Simulator 2020. Download comes in at 389 meg and it installs into your community folder in a file size of 857 meg. Prices, currently it's €19.20, which equates to roughly $19.42 US or £16.26 UK. US and UK prices are estimates and they do include tax or VAT, which of course may vary depending on which country you make your purchase from. Currently the scenery is available from Sim Market. It's also available directly from FSDG Online. It's slightly cheaper from FSDG Online, but really there's not much in it. We're talking a few cents, and FSDG Online prices include VAT at 19%, which of course may change if you purchase from another country other than Europe. So let's just talk about this for a minute. I did a video way back on another payware scenery by S Design, which is slightly cheaper and was released some time ago. So obviously there will be comparisons. I'll say right off the bat that the FSDG offering here in front of me looks a lot better. It looks really good. I particularly like the way it fits into the default terrain. And by this shot here from high level you can see just how well the airport and the terrain fits in with the surrounding area. It looks really nice. Before I go any further, I must thank FSDG for sending me a copy for this for review. I didn't buy it, they very kindly sent me my own copy. But as ever, the comments and opinions and thoughts are my own and are in no way influenced by the developer. I will say that FSDG do come up with some pretty impressive sceneries. I reviewed Seychelles and Mauritius way back in some earlier videos. My subscribers and viewers will know that they're available and may wish to have a look at them. And you may also want to have a look at the S-Design version of this airport. But today we're going to concentrate on the FSDG version, which, as I say, is available from Sim Market and from FSDG Online. I'm going to go through a bit of history for you, but it'll be fairly short because a lot of this was covered in the other video. So SHARM El Sheikh Airport first opened in May 1968 and it began as a base for the Israeli Air Force. Then after the signing of the Egypt-Israel Peace Treaty in 1979 and subsequent Israeli withdrawal from the Sinai Peninsula, it was reopened as a civilian airport. Terminals. Although now known as Terminal 2, the airport's original terminal building underwent a complete modernisation program in 2004 and has a passenger handling capacity of over 2.5 million passengers per year. In May 2007, the airport's second terminal, now known as the new Terminal 1, was inaugurated with a capacity for 5 million passengers per year. This two-level 460,000 square foot or 43,000 square metre terminal features 40 check-in desks, counters, and is designated to cater to a large number of international and charter flights. It has 2 domestics and 6 international gates, all of which exit to the remote stands. The terminal comprises 3 building components: 2 circular-shaped halls fused together by a wedge-shaped intermediate space which is dubbed the boat. This serves as a passenger transit hub housing passport control, duty-free and VIP areas, as well as cafes and restaurants. The halls, in stark textural contrast to the solid mass of the boat, feature airy, billowing tent-like roofs inspired by the indigenous Bedouin culture that exists here in the country. Since the inauguration of Terminal 1 in 2007, most airlines have shifted operations to the new building. In December 2016, Egyptian Airports Company announced plans to extend Terminal 2. The EAC plans to expand the terminal and increase its capacity by 2 million passengers per year, thus taking the total capacity of the airport to over 9 million. This also includes the construction of a new runway and 40 new airsides. Currently, over 60 airlines use the airport, including seasonal flights. In November 2019, it was announced part of the expansion of Terminal 2 has been completed, increasing the airport's annual capacity from 7 to 9 million a year. The plan aims to increase the capacity to 20 million per year as the number of tourists visiting the resort city is rising, during the winter in particular. Total cost of development works has reached over 800 million so far. Obviously this review can't go any further without mentioning the one important fact and incident that happened here that was very important to the history of this airport. In October 31st, 2015, MetroJet flight 9268 en route from SHARM El Sheikh to St. Petersburg in Russia crashed in the Sinai Peninsula, killing all 224 people on board, most of them Russian tourists. The jihadist group ISIL, at war with Russian forces in nearby Syria, quickly claimed responsibility for the crash, which was believed by Western governments to be the result of a terrorist bombing. Russian investigators confirmed in mid-November that year that the flight was indeed bombed. Following these events, many countries ordered all flights to SHARM El Sheikh airport suspended until further notice. As a result of the incident, passenger numbers decreased sharply, which led to airlines cancelling flights into the airport. Many governments banned flights from operating into SHARM for some time. However, after security improvements in October 2019, the UK lifted its ban on flights between UK airports and SHARM. In November 2019, TUI AG, the parent company of TUI Airways and TUI UK, announced the resumption of flights to the airport starting in February 2020. In August 2021, Rossiya Airlines, the low-cost carrier from Russia, operated the first flight between Russia and the SHARM El Sheikh for the first time in 5 years since the banning of the flights between the two countries due to the downing of the MetroJet flight. So that was a significant incident in this airport's history. Thankfully, lots of improvements were carried out, not just to the infrastructure of the terminal, but to the security operation at the airport, bringing it into line with IATA regulations generally. Okay, so let's talk runways. As you can see, I've lowered the lighting and we're looking towards the northeast. SHARM El Sheikh Airport operates two parallel runways at 04 left 22 right and 04 right 22 left, and we're actually looking right between 04 left and 04 right, which are here. We're looking northeast between those two runways. Both runways are exactly the same. They measure 10,108 feet or 3,081 meters in length and are constructed from asphalt. The airport lies at an elevation of 143 feet or 44 meters and features very high ground to the northwest of the airfield. All four ends of both runways feature high-intensity airfield lighting system and precision approach path indicators on both sides of the runway approach. And here, for example, on runway 04 left and 04 right, you can see the approach options and the PAPIs on both sides, all well lit here. Runway 04 left, which is this one, features an instrument landing system, just the standard one, as well as RNP and VOR approach options. Runway 04 right, this one here, has RNP and VOR approach options themselves, but no ILS. At the other end, runway 22 left and right feature RNP approach options only, but as I've said, they also feature the standard high intensity lighting system and the PAPIs just as per. So if we go a little bit closer to the thresholds here, so you can see we've also got runway end identifier lights, and of course you can see the whole runway is lit here, although there's no centerline lighting. Slightly displaced threshold here as well, and I believe we have exactly the same at the other end. So there you go, that does it kind of for runways. I've had a look at flight radar, and today actually they're using runway 22, because the wind is from the southeast. But normally, as far as I understand it, 04 is the normal approach. And strangely enough, most of the approaches I've looked at during my research show landing on 04 right, even though 04 left has the instrument landing system. So I can't see anywhere that says which is actually the preferred runway. So for ILS approaches, obviously 04 left, and it's closer to the airport itself, as you can see. Or if you want to practice your RMPs, you can do 04 right, and obviously be mindful of the high terrain there to the left. So there you go, that's runways. Let's get down on the ramp and have a look ourselves, bring it back to daytime and have a look at this scenery close up and see how good it is. So to begin with, we're going to start at the extreme southwest end of the airport, having a look at this ramp area, which is actually just outside the scope of the airport chart that I'm looking at from Navigraph, but as you can see, it's been modelled. And we look further towards the west, there you can see the mountain range, and we've also got some scenery bits and pieces. I'm not sure how much of it is default or whether anything's been added, but actually, as I've said earlier in this review, I really do like the way that whatever they've done has blended in with the default. And in many cases, when you get to the point where you can't see what's default and what's added scenery, that kind of just shows how well the development's been done. So there we are, looking towards the northeast and the airport itself. Let's take a tour and have a look. So a lot of this looks like sort of photo scenery, but it's been developed, I think, to a great extent by the add-on by FSDG themselves. And there you can see some of the structure. We're taking a run across the airside area first, and it looks really quite pleasant. Love the palm trees and the lighting. And here you can see just some of the quality of the designs on the buildings. It's just been nicely done. Little bit of weathering looks good. That road looks quite good as well. There are your palm trees. And the whole thing looks really quite nice. There's the entry point to the airport, which we'll look at in a moment. The stand markings look quite good, and as you can see, the quality of design on the buildings, it's all pretty accurate. I've had a look at lots of images of SHARM, and what you see is pretty accurate. It's very nicely modelled actually. Some buses there, your taxiway markings, some signage, and advertising hoardings. All of this looks quite good. The quality is really quite nice. There's the new Terminal 2. We'll have a look from the other side. I will say, of course, there is no internal development inside the buildings or in the control tower. But what's on the outside looks very acceptable. We've done a nice little job here, and as I said, what you can see there, despite using quite a bit of photo scenery, it blends in really well. Now this little building, there's the fire station with the fire tower on top. Quite strange not to see any fire service vehicles, but there we go. That's the way it is, and we continue northeast here. Lots of buses, lots of bits and pieces, ground clutter. Looks quite nice. And here is the sort of private terminal, as it were. It's actually got cargo listed on the buildings, but this is actually listed as the private apron, so I presume you get dignitaries here as well. But again, all looks pretty good. So as you can see, it's listed as a cargo terminal, but there's a lot of private aviation that operates here. SHARM El Sheikh Cargo Authorities. There's the fuel farm at the back. Again, quite nicely modelled. No problems with that at all. And you've got this large hangar, which is on the chart. And this other one as well, which is also on the chart. And strangely enough, unlike the one we've just passed, this has a little bit of internal work. But all looks pretty good. While we're here, let's go and have a look at some runway signage and taxiway signage. Interesting that they've got that Cat 2 mark there, but there's no Cat 2 charts. But however, the signage is good. It's built into a concrete plinth. You've also got blue airport edge lights, and the ground signage itself looks pretty good. Threshold markings are fine. So this is 22 right. I'll just raise it up a bit here. And there you can see a displaced threshold slightly as well, just like at the other end. You've got your windsock and you've got signage as well. There's 22 left, and we've got the sea there and plenty of buildings on the south side of the airport. But like I said, in terms of approach, the only runway that has some instrument landing system is 04 left. And it's a standard Cat 1 ILS, so why they've got Cat 2 signs there I'm not certain, unless I'm missing something. So as you can see, ground signage looks good, everything looks pretty rugged. Let's cross to the landside part of the buildings and have a look at the modelling per se. Palm trees look quite nice. And there you can see buses and various bits of airport clutter. You've got the roadway there on the land side. That's quite nice. Got some trucks, a catering point down there. So again, you can see quite a lot of use of photo scenery, but in general it works reasonably well. It's really quite nice. Containers there. Now what we'll do is we'll stop here and have a look at the terminal from landside, which looks quite pleasant. So there's Terminal 2, looks really quite good from landside. The building's quite nicely done, weathering and the concrete textures are really good, they're accurate. I was looking in the other direction towards the control tower building and the other part of the terminal. I really do like these palm trees on the left here. So if you look slightly higher, there you can see the building, and you've got this reflection thing going on here which looks really quite pleasant. Top of the building's been nicely done, everything's there as it should be. Now just turning our attention to the road system, again a big reliance on photo scenery. They've decided that obviously they don't want to fully model the road system landside of the terminal, which is a pity really, considering they haven't done any modelling inside the buildings. So let's go and have a look at this sign here, which I think is really quite nice too. That's quite impressive. It's a pity it's such low resolution. It would have been nice if they could have heightened the resolution of that so it could be clearer. But no, that's okay. So there you get a good view of the landside looking down the main road there. It's okay. It's not as developed as I would like it to see, certainly in view of what's capable in some of the sceneries these days. Everything's pretty low resolution, and lots of sort of lack of modelling on the landside area really. It's not really what I would have expected to see. I would really have hoped that this would have worked better or looked better, but they've had some more work done on it. But it remains to be seen to see if they do any updates and improve the scenery. So looking a bit further on, here's a good example of this sort of Bedouin texturing effect that's prominent at the airport, and this really looks quite pleasant, and they've done a nice job on modelling it. A couple of advertising signs here. Interesting that these signs are much higher resolution, and you can see they're not in any way blurred, which is in marked contrast to the landside mural we've just looked at. Let's look at these from the other side. Again, the same signs, but at a much higher resolution, so they don't blur, and it looks better. Really does. But also at this, looking at the sort of this close up here, you can see the strange little effect you get when these buildings are really nicely, crisply, sharply modelled, and they're placed on photoground scenery that's not been properly developed in terms of 3D modelling. You get this kind of silly effect, which is what you will see close up. I mean, obviously everything looks so much better the further away you are from it. So if I raise the scenery up there, you see it looks better. It still doesn't look quite as good as it would do if it had been 3D modelled, but it looks a lot better than it does close up. There's hardly any blurring at all. So let's just take a little run across this very uniquely designed building. Again, no internal modelling, however, as you can see, the way this has been designed, you get this reflection and you get this kind of effect that makes you think that actually there is something going on inside, and it's quite nicely done. It's very nicely weathered. Again, it's accurate as per the images I've looked at of this building. It's been really, really nicely done. Very, very good modelling. I think, as I said, the whole thing's a little bit spoiled by the fact that they really haven't done the modelling land side of the building here. In most cases I can get away with the fact that there's no internal modelling. That's a developer's choice. I have no problem with that at all. But I think for pilot point of view, you're going to be interested to see what you're looking at when you arrive. And on an airport like this, where you've got remote stands and no jetways, I think it is important to sort of introduce something that gives you the ambience of the airport. Now, whilst the buildings are beautifully done, the landside area here, the modelling lets it down completely, which is a real pity. So we come a little closer here, and there you can see, I mean, it's the signage here is really sharp, in complete contrast to everything else. But again, really nicely done. This is really nicely done, the way it has been put together, which unfortunately is completely let down by the low resolution modelling, or lack of the landside area upon which the whole thing sits. So they've done a lovely job on the buildings here, certainly from the outside, and you know, some of this Bedouin modelling texturing is really evident wherever you look, and that's great. But it's just a pity that everything landside seems to be such low resolution that it's kind of let down, really. So the airside roads are a little better, as you can see, and the airside ramp looks quite good. Palm trees are lovely, no complaints at all. And again, the buildings are nice. They've done a nice job, but the whole thing's kind of let down by the low resolution modelling of the ground, as it were. So there we go. We've had a nice daytime tour of the airside and landside part of the main terminal itself, and we've looked at the runways. Let's turn the lighting down to dusk and see what the lighting is like, and see whether this airport, like many others in Flight Sim 2020, really sort of come to life in the low light. Okay, 6:20 in the evening local time, and as you can see, the sun sets there. The sun has gone well down and the lighting's come up a bit. Airside, in terms of aircraft and parking, lighting's not too bad at all. You've got lights reflecting off the buildings there at the stands. We'll go and have a close look at the moment. But generally the lighting seems to be okay, but also quite a lot of areas that are not lit. Here, for example, there isn't an awful lot. Okay, the road has lights all the way down, and the big sign, the mural we saw earlier, was also lit. We'll have a look at all of these things. So let's get down close and have a look at the ramp and see how the buildings are lit, and just see how much light there is actually on the ramp. So here we go, just tracking across some of the parking stands. Again, you can see the buildings have come to life a bit. The lighting is quite nice. The ramp itself is quite well lit. Don't see too many problems with that at all. And as you can see, airside, they've modelled the roads really nicely, as well as the building. You've even got a couple of signs, red parking signs on the roads. There are some buses there close to the terminal. And the lighting looks good, no Asobo globes sitting all over the place. And there you can see another stop sign, and the hoardings there are marked nicely, and some lovely drop lighting here on Terminal 2, which makes it look pretty good. So if I come up a little bit, okay, there's the control tower. We've got minimal lighting there. There's enough to give you an idea that there's something going on in there, but really not much at all. And as we continue our tour northeastward up towards the threshold of 22 right, here you can see lots of clutter and bits and pieces, but really not much in the way of lighting. They've kind of let this go a little bit, which is a pity. On the plus side, plenty of blue airfield edge lights. Can't see any green centerline lights. Maybe somebody at the airport can tell me if that actually exists at the real airport. Ground markings are still quite good. And here you can see the private terminal and the cargo building. There is no lighting on there at all, which is a real pity. It's just a bit of a letdown, really. There's not even any lights on the fuel farm there at the back. So looking towards the runway, this is 22 right here. As you can see, lighting's pretty good. Your taxiway signs are well lit. Runway approach signs are lit too. No problem with that at all. And there you can see the glow from the Pappies. And we've got some lighting on the south side of the field there. And just a close-up there of the runway entry signs, nicely lit and very clear, along with the taxiway demarcation. All looks fine, no problem at all. So let's just head landside of the main apron. As you can see, there really is a distinct lack of lighting in many of these buildings that they've nicely done that look really nice in the daytime. So there you can see we've got another Muro to the left. Let's have a close look at it. And there it is on the side of that building. And it actually really wasn't terribly evident during the day. I mean, I didn't really see this when we passed over, or I didn't. But again, it comes to life at night. There's the control tower to the left with minimal lighting on the ground part, with some nice signage here. And this all looks really nice. It's very, very nicely modelled, very acceptable. Fence line there, and this is beautifully done, and some drop lighting here that makes this all sort of come to life. And the building looks okay, but there really isn't anything going on in here. So going across the car park here towards the road, and the road lights look good. They've got the actual lights there, no Asobo globes. That's a plus for me. It's a really good thing. And that looks really nice. The only real pity is that it's such a low resolution image that it's just so blurred, even if you come back from it. See, I've come back from it towards the main road and it still looks fairly blurred. That really should have been a much higher resolution image to make it more effective. So just to look across the apron so you can get an idea of what this looks like. I mean, it's not too bad. Here, okay. This looks quite good. You've got this illusion of what's going on inside. That's quite nicely done. And we've got some stand poles here with the lights. No Asobo globes, which is another plus. These signs are nicely lit. Some lovely drop lighting on the building. And again, you've got the same effect on the new terminal here. Let's go and get a bit closer and have a look at that. So there you are. Building's really nicely done, I have to say. It's very, very pleasant, very sharp. You've got some signs here that are very clear, and you've got the way that the lighting's been done, so you've got this kind of illusion of what's going on. It all looks really, really quite nice. So there's an image looking at it a little bit closer. It just looks fine, no problem at all. Nice high resolution texturing, and the text is easily readable. And there you've got an image showing this rather unique roof structure that they've made at the airport, and it's lovely, looks really nice. But you know, for all the design work and all the beauty of these structures, the lighting really here just lets the whole thing down. Okay, it would, as I've said before, really this should be 3D modeled to bring it up to the specification of the buildings and the lighting, or you could do some really nice work here to make this look really good. But they've done the minimum. They've decided that that's what they want to do, and that's as far as they go. And there's a shot looking sort of landside towards the highway. Again, so much here that could have been really developed and looked nice has been left, and really just it's a bit of a letdown for me. So again, you've got these nice structures that have been built here that look really good, and again hardly any lighting to actually show them off. Buildings in the distance look not too bad at all, really. And just another shot across the ramp, and there you can see, I mean, in terms of parking, the lighting's quite adequate. You're going to need your nose gear light to get you off the runway and taxi here until you come to within the lighting range. Okay, so let's go to night time and see if there's any improvement. So there we are, pretty much the middle of the night now. It's just coming up to 10 PM local time. As you can see, the stand lights have come up a little bit more, as we generally expect them to do, and the lighting on the terminal was improved slightly, but there really isn't an awful lot of change. So there's a shot looking at the airside area, and the lighting is fine. It's more than adequate on the airside stands. You have everything you need as a pilot here, taxiing in, and it looks real enough, and yeah, it's acceptable. It's perfectly okay. It's a real pity that the scenery just hasn't really been developed in the way that it could have been to make this really something special. There we are looking across the runways. As you can see, they're properly defined. You're going to rely to a large extent on your nose gear landing lighting after landing to get clear of the runway and find your way, as it were, which shouldn't be too difficult. But once you get into the stand area here, the lighting's more than adequate. And just looking to the west, there you can see the development that's at the other end of the airport there, just slightly off the charts. These lights are good. I'm impressed that I don't see tons of Asobo globes sitting all over the place. The lights have been properly placed and they light up the right area, so that's really impressive. So let's bring up the dawn and see how it looks in the dawn. Okay, 5:25 in the morning, and as you can see, the sun is coming up and you've got this beautiful sunrise glow showing off how beautiful the mountains are there to the left, and you've got this lovely colour reflecting on the buildings airside down there, and that looks really nice. And looking towards the east, there's the sun rising above the horizon, and it looks really beautiful. This is what it's all about, ambience and atmosphere. And there's a quick shot looking towards the west, showing you the beautiful mountains in the background and the terminal complex to the lower right there, and various hotels and bits and pieces there on the south side by the sea. It's a beautiful location. Landed here a few times in FSX and P3D in various other sceneries, and it's another nice little 5-hour flight from the UK if you guys are interested. Okay, just after 6 AM local time, the sun's well up now and you can see the airport's bathed in the early morning sunrise. And time to wrap up this review and give you my conclusions. Okay, do I think this airport is worth €19? Unfortunately, I don't. Let's look at the pluses. As I said earlier, the airport sits beautifully in the default scenery. It's been really nicely blended. You can see evidence of this with the roads that are still untouched. This sort of desert effect combines well with the desert effect outside of the scenery area. You've got this mountain, which is a feature in many of the sceneries I've seen of this area, all nicely done, and it fits really well. The blending really looks good. The buildings, the design is of a very high standard, no complaints on the outside, they look great. No internal development, but I have no problem with no internal development as long as what you're looking at is nicely developed and plentiful. Unfortunately, it isn't plentiful. There are many buildings on the airport. There are quite a few also that actually don't appear and the landside area is particularly underdeveloped, and particularly after dark. As I said, many airports come to life in the low light hours, and a desert airport like this, as the sun goes down, as you've seen from some of the video I've shot to show you, certainly in the early morning and in the evening, there's a potential here to have just a beautiful ambience. It's a stunning airport, stunning location, but they really have left it to photo scenery, quite a lot of it. Much of it works and quite a lot of it doesn't, particularly when you look at the landside areas here. I would have liked to have seen this been properly developed and properly lit, which really would have turned this airport on a lot more. I think unfortunately this airport probably is worth nearer to 15 euros, not 19, because of the lack, basically what's missing from it that could have been done. Again, my personal opinion, that's just what I feel. However, I will say that this is the best rendition of this airport currently. It does beat S-Design's version by a couple of miles, I have to say. The S-Design version is good, and it really does improve the default when you take everything away, but much of that does look a little bit cartoonish. And I did have one or two little issues landing on the runway when I flew in there. The FSDG version that we're looking at now is hugely better than the S-Design version. Unfortunately, it's overpriced in my opinion, my considered opinion. It is overpriced. But if you're looking for a really good airport, currently this is the best available for Sharm El Sheikh. I will fly in here, we'll do a video of it, and that'll be a good idea as well to sort of test the runway situation. But no, it's overpriced and underdeveloped is my considered opinion. However, like I said, it's the best you can get currently, and I do applaud FSDG for attempting to do this. But I really would like to see them, if they're going to update it to another version. It's not certain that they will. They have released updates for many of their airports, but obviously it depends on what their developers feel. But I would like to see this landside area of the airport really developed in 3D modelling. The roads, the car parks, cars, all these bits and pieces here, and then having done that, I'd like to see them really nicely lit. The airside area really should reflect the landside area too, and in my opinion that would really bring it up. But that's my opinion. You may feel differently. Again, I must thank FSDG for sending me a copy of this to review. I make no apologies for the review I've given. It's my considered opinion. You may feel different. If you do, then I'll quite happily put the comments there. But if FSDG are looking at this, I would like to see them develop this a bit more to make it worth the price. It's about 4.5, 5 euros overpriced at the moment for the development that's been done. But there is potential here with the way that they've modelled the buildings and how nice this looks and how well it's integrated into the default terrain. There's potential for this to be really good if they develop it more, and hopefully maybe they will do that. So there you go, this is Sharm El Sheikh International Airport, Hotel Echo Sierra Hotel, payware scenery by the Flight Sim Development Group, or FSDG. It's version 1 and it's for the PC only. Download at 389 meg and installs at 857 meg. It's available from both SimMarket and FSDG's own online shop. There's not an awful lot of difference in the two locations, a couple of cents. But at the moment it's priced at €19.20, which equates to roughly $19.42 US, or £16.26 UK. And those prices, US and UK prices, are estimates. And the prices include VAT and tax, which of course may vary depending on which country you're in when you make your purchase. But I would like to see this airport developed more to make it worth the price they're asking for it, because currently it's underdeveloped and overpriced. And that's my considered opinion. So this is Lee, your virtual airline pilot, wrapping up another review. Thank you very much for joining me. If you've been on the fence or wondering about whether to buy this or not, or if you already own the S-Design version, I hope this has helped you to have a look and decide what you really think, or for those who want to purchase yet another airport out in Egypt. I hope this review has helped you. Thank you for joining me. I will see you in the next review, where we're going back to the Middle East again, and we're going to be look at Muscat, which is a freeware project which I'm going to have a look at closely, which is constantly being developed by the author, and it's available on flightsim.to, and it looks really good. I can't wait to show you that. That's coming again this week. So thanks again. This is Lee saying bye for now. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much for joining me. You guys take care. Have a great week. Bye bye now.